Greetings, listeners. Welcome to How the World Should Work, the podcast with a purpose, where we talk about things that actually matter. This is your host speaking, author, journalist, and otherwise aimlessly wandering millennial, Matt Shao. I'll be hosting alongside my good friend Johnny here. As many in my generation can probably relate to, and many who aren't, I spent several years after college trying to navigate the endlessly frustrating world of business to carve out what I was told was a successful life for myself. 6 years in the insurance industry, followed by a year of owning a small business, made me feel like I was on a decent track. Until August the 4th, 2015, when my world was turned upside down. That was the day I lost my mother and best friend, and suddenly every priority of mine completely shifted. I began to look at life from a totally different angle, and as a result, decided to drop everything and pursue writing. A dream my mother had pushed me towards my entire life, but one I was always too scared to chase. Fast forward 2 years, and I'm now a published author, a columnist at my local newspaper, an ever-growing blogger, and now we have a podcast. Which brings me to the point at hand. Here you'll be listening to topics pulled from various themes and motifs from my main writing project, the Continuity series. Although the primary purpose, as with any work of fiction, is to entertain, it also serves as a platform to express many of the thoughts and feelings we all seem to have with this crazy world we're living in. From deeper issues like social equality to lighter things such as modern dating, we'll be covering a wide array of things that we all seem to think about but don't seem to talk about very frequently. So with all that said, allow me to introduce our co-host, Mr. Gentleman Johnny Wiggins.
My name is Jonathan Wiggins. I've decided to join this project because I truly believe in what it stands for. Our goal here isn't to use this as a soapbox, so all you can just hear us talk. Instead, we hope that by talking about these issues, we can help create a better awareness of the things that affect our lives. By talking about these issues that we otherwise tend to ignore, I think we'll get a much better understanding of them, which can help us apply this newfound understanding to our lives in a meaningful way.
All right, episode number 6. Today we're going to talk about animals. This is going to be an episode where we pay homage to and appreciate the little guys, our good boys and good girls. We're going to talk about how animals have affected our lives in one way or the other in terms of domestication or taming, or how they apply to agriculture and every other way that animals can affect our lives. So we have our special guests today. Mr. Baxter, for one, is the mini Schnauzer here. We're going to have some photos posted on this episode. But Mr. Baxter, say hello. He's my mini Schnauzer that I've had. He's 6 years old now. And Will, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, with me today I have my dog, Oreo. She's an 8-year-old German Shepard, and she's the panting you hear in the background, so that's going to be her way of saying hello.
Yeah. And then Johnny Luigi, Luigi is running around somewhere here.
Upstairs.
He's upstairs at the moment, but what kind of dog is Luigi?
He is a 6-year-old miniature Italian Greyhound.
A miniature Italian Greyhound. Greyhounds are known for being fast.
Yeah, he's pretty fast.
When I lived in West Virginia, there was a dog track, actually. There was a casino in between Charleston and Huntington, the two cities. I lived, the two main cities in that area, and they had a Greyhound track. And I remember I used to go watch them. Yeah, I watched them race and stuff. It was fascinating. I loved watching them.
Pretty cool, yeah.
They're very elegant.
They fly.
Seriously, they're extremely fast. Okay, so I've picked a couple quotes out for episode 6 to begin with. The first one, Anatole France. She said, "Until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened." I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And the other one is by Ingrid Newkirk, and she says, "Every animal has his or her story, his or her thoughts, daydreams, and interests. All feel joy and love, pain and fear, as we now know beyond any shadow of doubt. All deserve that the human animal afford them the respect of being cared for with great consideration for those interests or left in peace." So, I like that. She's kind of saying animals are on our level, and we need to relate to them. But the way animals applies to the continuity series, and it hasn't become as evident yet because it's actually in the second book, which is finished, Continuity Coalescence. But there's an animal, there's a pet named Squeak that comes out as a part of Carson's story. And I don't want to, again, as always, I don't want to spoil anything, but they develop a strong bond, and I would be lying if I said Baxter was not a strong inspiration for that character. Squeak is basically a four-legged vocal, it can speak, creature that has the face, it's like the size of a dog, a small dog, and the face. Have you guys played Cubert?
Yeah,
the game Cubert. So she's this really, really like cute elephant, shaped thing that with the Cubert face, and it's got the one trunk,
I can picture her a lot better now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so she's a very bubbly character, and she always says, I think that's her thing. Like, I think this and I think that. But another inspiration, and by the way, have you seen Land Before Time?
Yes.
Ducky.
Yeah.
Ducky. Yep. You know how that thing?
Yep.
So I added the end of her sentences. A lot of times she'll say, I think this is what we need to do, I think. But, so that's how it relates to the story. But, so let's start out in our animal appreciation episode by talking about the historical account of animals and how that applies to people. So how far back does humanity's relationship with animals go? And what did you guys, I know we sent out the bullet points beforehand. What did you guys find out about that?
Well, I know one thing, and I when we said we were going to do this episode, it was something that I've heard this a while back, and it was always just, it has to do with when humans first started interacting with dogs on a domesticated level, and this was as far back as the Ice Age. There isn't really, it's like I mean, what y'all probably saw a lot of too is no one really has a set idea of how we started really how we domesticated and when we did and why we did, because there wasn't written history yet. So we're just going off of clues and evidence and through bones and cave paintings and stuff. And I've always thought it was really cool that one of the theories behind how the wolves first moved in with humans is that during the, one of the Ice Ages, humans weren't around, right? 'Cause there's been 2 Ice Ages, right?
One was like 10,000 or so years ago, and then there was another that was like a long time ago.
Okay, the one that was like 10,000 years ago when humans were around, so were wolves.
If I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong.
I don't know the exact stuff either, but when that happened, everything froze over. There was a very scarce amount of food. There wasn't warmth anywhere. But humans, being as having the ingenuity that we have, moved into caves. Had by that time learned how to control fire, and were able to gather their own food and have ready food supplies, or at least as ready as it could be in a barren wasteland of frost. So the wolves saw more of something to take advantage of in the fact that we could control warmth, we had the shelter, and we had food, and we had excess food that we weren't eating that we would give to them. And so it really just kind of showed, and then and so once that's seen as the when we first really moved in together, because the wolves said, well, you've got shelter and you'll be nice to us, and you've got food and you'll be nice to us, and they just kind of started. So
they were the world's first dumpster divers.
Yeah, they were the first moochers of the world.
They were the first.
And I think it's just really cool.
Hey, they've got trash that we can eat.
Because and we're all dog people here. I know you are, Matt, especially.
Very much so.
It's to me, it's really cool to just see that, like, with something with dogs, since the very beginning of our species relationships, we've been taking care of each other.
Right.
That's how it started, and that's probably how it'll end. And even after that, once they emerged from the caves and it wasn't cold anymore, now you had the world's ultimate hunting machine in the form of man and dog, because man would have the spear and dog, has his teeth and the claws.
That's a really good point, because there is a very specific, I think, separate type of relationship, and now that you mention that, between humans and canines.
Yeah, there really is.
That kind of transcends that relationship with a lot of other species.
It's almost like they were kind of made for each other in a way.
It's like our best man.
Species. Yeah, yeah.
It's like our best man because it's like, yeah. And it's very difficult to forge that kind of relationship with any... I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's difficult to forge that kind of relationship with another type of animal.
It is. Dogs and humans definitely have it different than the rest.
Yeah, so I like that. That's a good point. But yeah, so you're saying, so historically, people and animals have interacted, obviously, but, since the dawn of time.
Right, yeah.
And here Baxter is trying to shake my hand. Looking at he's
or
like,
a high five or something.
I know. He's like, pay attention to me. But, so so they started out as sources of food, obviously, and pelts and clothing and whatnot. So what did you guys learn in terms of domestication? Did you guys look at anything in terms of domestication? And and one interesting point that I noted, when doing some of the research for this episode was the difference between domestication and taming. So taming, it sounded like, and they were actually, I'm going to open up. So by definition, in an article, at least in this article, Evolution Consequences and the Future of Plant and Animal Domestication by Jared Diamond, he describes the biological traits and behaviors that wild animals must have to be domesticated. And he says successful domestication is only possible with these characteristics. 1, a diet that can be supplied easily and relatively cheaply by humans. 2, a relatively fast growth rate with short time intervals between birth. 3, the ability to mate and breed in captivity. 4, a tendency towards calm, predictable behavior. 5, a lack of viciousness towards humans. And 6, a social structure based on hierarchy and cooperative group living without strong territorialism. How's that for a tongue twister there?
Right,
but that's the 6. He broke it down into 6 components, which are required to be present in order to domesticate an animal. So, and he also splits that in between. He splits domestication from taming, saying that taming is more being able to slightly modify or control the behavior of animals as opposed to actually domesticating them, where you basically can teach them tricks and do all that stuff and let them roam around. So let's talk about animal rights, because this is kind of a sensitive topic when it comes to actually a lot of facets of society. So what are y'all's takes just in general on animals in terms of their relationship with people? Do you think that do you think people are just elevated, cognitively, functioning animals? Or do you think that that we are on a separate level where we can kind of treat animals, how we see fit? They're kind of here at our disposal, and does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Like, how do you view that? The human rights, animal rights. What are your guys' just general thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think definitely they should have rights, and I guess looking at it depending on what type of animal it is, because we still eat cows. The vast majority of humans rely on meat. Beef and stuff like that, but would you ever try to eat a dog? No. So I think
do you ever wonder why though? Honestly, like why? Do you know?
I don't know. I've never tried to spend the time and become emotionally attached to a cow.
I think it comes down to a moral thing, to be honest. The attachment, the bond, is what.
Right.
You don't even so much as name a cow sometimes. Cows get numbers. They don't get names. So
it's just this dynamic fascinates me.
Yeah.
The way we've selected to think about certain animals in certain ways and certain animals other ways. And I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong. There's no judgment in this at all. I love meat. I love bacon. Yeah. Bacon's probably the one. Bacon might bring the world together one day.
I believe so, yeah.
Except for, the Middle East doesn't eat pork.
Well, maybe we'll
We'll figure it out.
Reach a middle ground. You know?
Turkey bacon.
So we'll bridge that gap. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But it is fascinating to think about how we have shaped our opinions and our viewpoints on certain animals.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear the clicking of the old
Yeah,
big
she
dog
needs
here.
to trim.
How we shape, as opposed to different ones. And why is that? Why are we mortified by the thought of cutting up and frying a literal hot dog versus cutting up and frying a slab of bacon? Like, what created that? How did we get to that? And that's what. Does that not seem kind of an odd standard? Inconsistent standard.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
And what do you think contributes to that?
I think it's because we've made animals like dogs and cats and gerbils and hamsters. Well, those not quite as much, but it'll make sense in a second. We've made those part of our families. We've made your Baxter is he has your last name, I'd imagine. I assume.
Yeah.
Oreo has my last name. Like we have brought these animals into our houses, and we've made you wouldn't fry up and eat your brother or sister, which that's also just cannibalism, but it helps the point. You wouldn't do that. Right. You wouldn't eat your family.
It puts it in context.
Even a stray dog, you're probably not going to shoot and kill. You're probably going to say, well, he looks hungry. Let's put some food out for him,
right.
Or you're going to try and help that dog because we have at a soul at like a linked soul level, we have bonded with these two species, these animals, and it just now there are cultures where dogs and cats are they're pets, but they're also just animals. Because there are cultures out there that eat dog and cat meat, but everybody kind of like China had a big thing about it years back, and people were all kind of like, no, let's not associate with that. But it's not even legal. This may have changed, but last I checked, it's not even legal to slaughter horses in the United States of America. They have to get shipped to Canada or Mexico to be slaughtered.
What? So in what context there would one slaughter a horse?
People eat horse meat.
Mm-hmm.
People eat
really
in Europe.
Glue factory.
Glue factory. I think horse meat is fairly common in some European countries, to be honest. I once again may be wrong about that, but I feel like I've heard it before.
So here's all right. So this is the first part, I think, or like topic with any depth that I want to talk about. Do you guys think that animals are sentient beings with a consciousness, thoughts, whatnot? This is an existential question. Do you think that they exist and think and dream and have emotion and everything like people do? What are your thoughts on that? Johnny, I'll start with you.
I think certain animals, I don't think they think exactly like humans do, because I think we go through the stress of every day. Am I too fat? We worry about things that aren't really that important, but we think about them all the time. I don't think a dog wonders if it's too fat or not, or if it. I think it pretty much just worries about food and having love. The same with cats. So I think that's really, their focuses are different than ours.
Yeah.
And other than that, outside of that, I don't really see, other than mating and stuff like that. But yeah.
Like, have you ever just like looked into an animal's, just like straight up looked into his eyes and just like wondered what he's thinking?
Yeah, definitely.
What he's thinking, like what's going on behind those eyes, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I think that's always piqued my curiosity. Like what wheels are spinning back there, as I look here at Mr. Baxter, it's like, what's going through his mind?
Got a pretty serious language barrier there, so it'd be nice to be able to know.
Wouldn't it be?
Right.
It'd be nice.
I would love to hear. That's why, there was a movie that came out recently, I think, about that.
The Life
of the Dog. Yeah. A Dog's Purpose or whatever.
A Dog's Purpose.
Purpose.
Yeah. So, but Will, what do you think? Do you think animals have that? Do you think we've just evolved as a complex form of animals, or are we on a different level, or what do you think?
The simplest answer I can give to this is I believe anything that any form of life that can have its own individual unique personality is sentient on a level. is conscious, has a soul per se. You look at a dog or a cat or a horse or even a cow. Mm-hmm. They all, yes, in general, act like a dog or act like a horse, act like a cat. But each horse, dog, cat, even mouse or gerbil, they all act differently on a personality level. Like you and I, Matt, we are human beings,
right.
But our characters, our personality, all that stuff, even Johnny, Ryan, none of us are exactly the same on that level. And no two dogs are exactly the same on that level either. And I also believe the fact that we can form a bond with something. When I feel like if you can form a bond with something, it is conscious. It has that soul because it's formed that. I mean, they've clearly formed the bond. Also, it's not just a one-sided thing.
Yeah, like when I leave the dog park, I mean, a lot of times Baxter will whine.
Yeah,
I
get upset.
The dog park before where he can't see. He'll go as far as he can to where he can still see me.
Right.
But if I'm out of that, eyesight, then he gets upset and he starts looking for me.
Or if you've been gone all day and you get home.
Yeah,
and he's the first one at the door ready to Oreo's that way. She is, a huge dog, as the people in this room can see. And every day when I come home, she is feet on my chest, just happy to see me, just elated, like I've been gone for years.
And it's an extremely what would be a good term? Validating or redeeming, or
it's a refreshing kind of feeling. It's a fulfilling feeling.
It's a very fulfilling emotion and sensation to have,
someone
an animal that just has that unconditional,
just loves you,
absolutely no strings attached love for you,
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I just love about animals, And I wish people could emulate, more frequently. But so considering that, what do you guys think about how we treat animals? What do you guys think about? Because the world, this is obviously we're always gonna sustenance is part of nature. I mean, it's we live in a world where there's a lot of dog panting, so
they know they're here.
Yeah, you guys know. We live in a world where we eat each other. We're a competitive species, like we've said, and so how do we draw the line? How doesn't it get a little blurred when you think about it? When you look at the pig, when you look at the cow, whatever it is,
Yeah. Well,
when you really think about it, when you're eating what's on your plate,
If you think about it, we're kind of used to having dogs and cats. It's like a normal thing. But seeing pigs, I haven't come in contact with a live pig in so long, or a cow for that matter. So I don't think the general public can really have really gotten to know a cow or a pig. So it's not such a big thing in our head where we're like,
ask my parents, there's nothing I want more than a pig. I want a pig. I
This
want a
guy.
pet pig. I do. I want a pet pig.
Will, for our listeners, Will lives on a farm. They have. Will, what do you have?
I have out on our farm. It's not a full farm, but it has some livestock. We have 4 horses. We have
chickens.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of how many we have. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 chickens.
20 chickens.
And then we also have, I think, 11 guinea hens. And our Oreo, the one dog, and then we have 3 barn cats and 4 indoor cats, so 7 cats total.
So the dog, for those of you that have seen Lord of the Rings, resembles quite closely a warg, I believe it's called, the enormous, enormous beasts that the Orcai ride. Because this is a big German Shepherd. This thing is like the size of a small vehicle.
Yeah, look out that window and see if you see her. I just want to make sure we know where she is.
So yeah, so we eat, we eat pigs, we eat cows. Do you think it's a proximity thing? Do you think it's because we don't see them go to slaughter, we don't name them, we don't associate with them?
I feel like part of I think there's a lot more to it than that, but I mean, I feel like we don't need to get as complicated as that. But I think a big part of it is, once again, like I said earlier, cows get numbers. I'm sure I'm fully aware that there are probably most likely cows out there named Daisy and whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, on a dairy farm or a beef farm, your cattle get numbered. They do. They aren't named. There's not that kind of bond. I'm sure pigs have some sort of identification thing, but they get numbered also.
Pigs.
Babe.
Yeah,
Pigs
there we
are
go.
a lot like dogs.
Ball do pigs.
That's
They're more
true.
intelligent
They're
than dogs.
very smart animals.
Pigs are.
They are.
Yeah, they're really clean. I will give them that. Have you ever
They
seen
are.
that? Have you seen the micro pig? The video of the micro pig twerking.
Yeah. I've seen that.
If you haven't, listeners, please, again, we mentioned Jonathan Pye a few episodes back. Pause this video or this podcast and look up micro pig twerking, and your day will be made.
It really will be. Just thinking about it, I'm kind of smiling over here.
And he's smiling, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. It's just funny to me that we've developed.
Well, and I think food chain plays a role in it too. And I mean, yeah, I think we'd be above dogs on the food chain for sure because we have weapons and we can kill them if we want.
But we're on the top of the food chain.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people consider us outside of the food chain because we are because of our weaponized culture. You can't, if we want to kill you as an animal, like even a lion or
there is
something,
nothing that
there's
equates,
really nothing that can take us out. Yeah,
it's not even a fair game to even consider us, right?
But it helps that a dog is a predator creature also. You know, we are considering the fact that we hunt we are a predator creature.
Okay, I see your point.
Cows and pigs, they're prey. That's what they're there for. They're there to be eaten. I mean, I don't mean that's not their only purpose. I do.
No. That's a good point. It's the way the world works.
It really is.
It's the way the natural way of things.
Now, I still think even cattle being raised as beef, there is a humane way to do that. There is a cruel way to do it.
Well, and that's a whole other point,
yeah.
you know. And we'll get into animal cruelty because there are. I mean, I have seen some.
There she is.
I've seen some sadistic things when it comes to animal cruelty. But yeah, I think it's a good point to make, and I want to isolate that for a minute and say that humans, you know, there's a lot of guilt tripping when it comes to Ryan is playing the micro pig twerking video here. When it comes to guilt tripping people, you know, for eating and whatever, but you see it in the animal kingdom. Everyone eats. Everyone, you know, it is a prey or be preyed upon.
Our chickens lay eggs. We go out there and get them and eat them. Like, you know.
So that does kind of, you know, it does. You don't have to feel as bad when it comes to eating and killing animals or whatnot. But so let's move into pets and the importance pets can play in the role of your life. And do you guys have when you grew up, for example, did y'all have a particular pet or anything that you latched onto or that you had a bond with? And how did that impact your lives?
Yeah, I had a few different ones. Let's see, I started off with a dog, and it was born the same day I was born. And it lived all the way up till I was 13, so most of my life right there. And I got pretty close to her, and you know, she was always right there, you know, ready to greet me when I came home. Doesn't matter what I did, she wouldn't care, still loved me. But yeah, I think getting that satisfaction. Getting that.
I ain't buying you no Coke.
Getting that satisfaction of going home and after a long day or whatever, and seeing that pet, you know, it kind of makes everything better.
Yeah.
No matter what day it was, you're gonna be happy. So that was my experience with the dog, and then I had a bird.
You had a bird?
Yeah.
A bird.
What kind of bird was it?
It was
Could it talk?
a sun conure.
A sun, like one of those white ones with a little flippy thing at the top of the head?
Like a cockatiel.
Yeah, this
cockatiel,
is a sun. It's a little different.
Is it in the family? Is it in the parrot? Is it in the cockatiel family, like the parrot family?
I mean, it's in the parrot family. It's one of those orange birds, the green and the blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Loves to sing.
Could he talk?
Yeah, he could. Yeah, he could
Say stuff.
What, he would mimic?
Oh yeah.
He would parrot you?
Pretty much. And he'd let me know if anyone went into the yard. I don't know how he knew.
He would what?
Like if anyone walked into the yard.
Yeah.
Or a car, a person, doesn't matter. Mailman, he goes crazy.
Really?
Gotta
He's in
teach
the
him
middle
to
of the
bark.
house.
What would he say?
Yeah, he just loses his. Yeah, Like, well, he wasn't quite a chicken.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got very chicken.
Yeah, that's the only
yeah.
bird noise I got in my repertoire, you know.
I'd love to mimic the bird noise, but I don't think I could give it justice. But,
He wants to keep his dignity as much as we'd love to
Let's
hear
shed
it.
our dignity here, you know.
But yeah, it was so cool having a bird. Other than that,
A bird, that would be a fun pet to have.
one of the best
I had a friend with a bird growing up. It was pretty cool.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
And they'll just sit there and play with you and watch TV just on your
Yeah,
shoulder.
yeah.
One of the best ones I had was a raccoon. It was a rescue.
Raccoon?
You've told me this.
You've had a raccoon
I
pet?
had a raccoon named Daryl. And
Yeah,
he
I
was
know. That's the
awesome.
funny part about it.
Cut that out.
Yep. So I never said a word also to that. But yeah.
Yeah. Can you domesticate raccoons?
You can tame them.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can tame them.
You tame him. He plays around and he wants you to hold him and all. We could let him outside and he'd go run up a tree and do his thing and then he'd come back down when he was done. The only bad thing about a raccoon is the thumbs.
Yeah.
He would go into the bathroom or the kitchen and he would turn on the water and he didn't care enough to turn it back off, so it would just run.
He doesn't have the concept of a water bill.
Yeah, no, they don't care about that. So, but just like a dog.
The raccoon would turn the water on.
Yeah. He did a lot of other stuff, but
They wash their hands and clean their food, so that's what he's getting ready for. Oreo, come here. Hush now.
What do y'all want, pups? Okay. Nice. Will, what about you? What about, what pets have you had? How have they impacted your life?
I've had a dog basically nonstop my whole life, first off. When I was 5 years old, actually my first pet growing up was a German Shepherd Husky mix. Her name was Samantha. I don't really remember her because she died when I was like 3 or 4, so a long time ago.
Right.
All I remember is that she would roam around town, and we'd see her out and about every now and then, and we'd roll the window of the car down and we'd yell out to her. And it was really funny because, like I was saying with their personalities and their character earlier, you could kind of tell from her body language that we'd embarrassed her a little bit because she'd always be with a group of dogs. So it was kind of like we'd called her out in front of her friends, and she'd kind of like hunch down and just get all bashful acting, and she'd run off. By the time we got home, she'd already be chilling on the front porch or somewhere in the backyard. But then when I was 5 years old is when my relationship with animals really took. I also had a cat named Sylvester growing up. And
Sylvester.
He was probably on a closeness level with animals. This cat, I've never seen a cat do this. I got home from scout camp one year, and I'd been gone. Yeah, I'd been gone for a week. And I come home, and he's an outdoor cat, so he's in our neighbor's yard, and he sees me get out of the car, and I look up and I see him, and I say his name, and he runs from where he is and runs all the way across their yard and across our yard and jumps into my arms. I've never seen a cat do that. That's how excited he was to see me, I guess. I've
never seen a cat do
that.
that.
Yeah, but he did that, yeah. But, like I was saying, when I was 5 years old, I got a Baxter puppy for my 5th birthday. And I was so in love with that dog until the day she died. She died when I was the January of my freshman year of high school. I still get kind of sad thinking about it, to be honest. But her and her son, because she had a litter of puppies at some point, and only one of them ended up making it. But we had him till the day he died also. Her and her son were the people that, like, if I had a bad day at school, or if there was just, if I just needed to get away for a second, I would just go into the backyard and do it then. Like any dog, you can always say something to a dog. You can always let everything out around your dog, and they're always just so happy to be there for you, and they don't even really know what they're there for, but just the fact
literally
that
unconditional. There's nothing you can do to push them away.
Oh, and then Oreo here is actually, she was we got her before. The son's name was Puppy. We named very creative, I know.
Puppy.
But we got her probably a year and a half before he died. So she is actually my brother's dog. But I mean, it's pretty obvious when you're around the whole family that the closest bond she has with any of us is with me. Mm-hmm. She's always at my side. She's always got her head on my knee. I've never, other than Princess the Boxer, I don't think I've ever been closer to an animal than I am with this dog. Yeah. And she really is, she's one of my best friends, and I feel like most dogs are.
It's amazing how deep the bond between a human and an animal can really go.
Yeah,
And even Carson Baxter, that's the name of my protagonist. I named him after my dog. I mean, that was, because that's how close we are. And that's how, like, the story of how I got Baxter was, I moved to West Virginia, and I didn't know anybody when I moved up there. I wanted to go into banking or whatever when I graduated in 2009. In Nashville, the job market was kind of saturated with Vandy grads. And my uncle, who taught at Marshall University, was like, hey, give it a shot up here in West Virginia. So I was like, all right, whatever, fine. So I'll never forget it. I was in Cincinnati. I was visiting my brother, who was playing for an independent baseball team up there. And I was on the way home to Nashville from Cincinnati, and my uncle called, and I was on the interstate, and it was literally like, this way is to Nashville, this way. Like, it was a literal fork in the road.
Right.
And he was like, he called me, he was like, hey, just bunk up here and look up, maybe your degree will stick out more because there's not as many Vandy grads up here or whatever. So I went left. Instead of going right to Nashville, I went left to West Virginia, totally unplanned, and this was right after I graduated, about 3 months after I graduated. And found a job with Liberty Mutual. Didn't know anybody. So I used to work a lot. That's all I did. I worked a lot of long hours. And I remember one day, Kim Brown, one of my favorite bosses I've ever worked for, she was like, Matt, you need one of two things. She said, you need either a girlfriend or a dog.
Yeah.
She was like, you need somebody to love you. You need someone.
No, that makes it sound so sad.
No, but she was like, you need something to come home to. And, it was funny because in West Virginia, in the area that I lived in, the Milton Flea Market was like the Saturday thing to do, right?
The flea market?
I will never forget. Yeah, the flea market, dude. It was the thing to do. And I went, every Saturday pretty much because I lived close to it, a little townhouse I was renting. And so one day I was like, you know what? She was right. So I walked through there and I knew they had the big long 10. You've all been to flea markets.
Yeah.
They had the big long 10.
We're in the South, man. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And, all the dog breeders that I used to go and see were, just to play around with were there. And I had my mind, I was like, at first I was like, I did a lot of research. I was like, I want a Maltese maybe. Because, a little kind of house. And I had a limit, like a weight limit for my townhouse complex. But I kept walking by this 110 and this little black mini Schnauzer, every single time I would come out, he would just run up to me and play and jump and like, and I know he didn't do it with anybody else. It was so weird. And here we are now. Here I am with Mr. Baxter. And he's literally with me almost all the time except for when I'm at the office. So. But yeah, it's an amazing bond that people can create with animals. What do you guys think in terms of how they teach like responsibility? Do you think animals are a good thing to grow up with, like in terms of when you're raising children, for example? Do you think it's a good thing to get them a pet to kind of usher them into parenthood themselves, because you're responsible for a life. Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
Having to take care of an animal, like feeding, taking it out when it needs to, teaching it new tricks and stuff like that, and obedience, all that stuff. That's a lot of work. And I don't know if you've ever like had a puppy, but puppies are pretty much just like 2-year-olds, little kids. They're everywhere all the time, messing up things.
They're tornadoes.
They are tornadoes, little tornadoes. And finally, like when you get to that point where it's actually starting to listen to you, and you can do on command stuff that you've taught it, it really, you gain a lot of valuable skills from that.
That's a really good. That's a really good point. It feels so good. It's like, yes, I taught this little creature this command, and it's like, and it just strengthens the bond. It's so funny, to think about it like that. But you're right. I mean, it's you put forth the effort, and because you care about this animal, and you care about it, so you put forth the effort and the energy to tame it or to domesticate it, and when it learns things, it's a very proud moment. It's like I've helped this thing. It is.
Did this?
Yeah, you know, it's so funny just to think about that. So, but yeah, and I think it's good to for kids, you know, to develop that mentality and sense of responsibility when it comes to raising children, or to raising a pet. Let's see. So, what animals? Here's a good one I want to ask you guys. This is an opinion question. What animals make the best pets?
Dogs, hands down.
So, Will, your answer
I'm
is
a dog
dogs.
guy.
All right.
Yeah.
So, why do you think so?
Well, because, I mean, when you think of having a pet, you think of having a friend, an animal, or at least in my opinion, you have a friend who's an animal. You know, you have somebody who, yes, you do take care of them, you feed them, you potty train them, you whatever. But, you know, you have this little family member, and I think, you know, out in,
family member.
I mean, that's what they are. They're part of your
You're a
family.
family
And I
member,
think
aren't
if you look at dogs on a just not just as a, like, you know, not necessarily even at a domestic level, but at how they are in the wild, is they are very much a pack animal. They, you know, dogs don't do well by themselves. That's why they get separation anxiety. Is not just like something that some dogs get. Dogs get it because
it's real.
they're made to be, they're pack animals. Like, you know, they don't do well without their pack. And so when it leaves, they throw a fit, especially when they're locked in a house alone. But that, you know, just having that, and I mean, you know, if you've got a dog like Oreo here, the German Shepherd, once they form that bond, they're not just your dog, they're not just your friend, they're not just, you know, whatever. They're also your protector. Because, I mean, Oreo, someone weird or suspicious comes up on the front porch or something odd goes on, suddenly she's standing straight up, pointed, you know.
Yeah, she's going to destroy them.
She's got that low grumble in her throat that kind of means, you
Baxter,
know,
on the other hand, Baxter's going to be like, dude, there's somebody at the door, man. I'm not going to deal with it.
You got to take care of this girl, please.
He's going to be like, man, I'm like the size of your left shoe.
My boxer was the same way.
You're going to have to handle this.
My mom used
Don't
to
say I didn't let you know.
That princess, if somebody came and held a gun up to us, she would just lick them to death. That she was just
It's like
happy.
the difference. Okay, so the difference between a watchdog and a guard dog. You know, a watchdog's a good one that's like, hey, dude, this guy's here. He's trying to break in, man. I don't want to deal with him, though. He's scared. And a guard dog's like her. She's like, argh!
It's like that.
You ain't taking my stuff. The guard dog will guard.
It's like that credit protection commercial where they've got the security monitor.
Right.
There's a threat.
Exactly. What good are you? You know, you're telling me I'm getting robbed, but you're not doing anything about it. Yeah. That's really funny. Yeah, because you and I have two, you know, markedly different sized dogs.
Really
here.
do, yeah.
And Baxter's not going to do much else other than maybe look him in the eye, and once he sees him, he'll be like, "Dang." He'll look at you where you think his life, you know? He'll be like, "Dang, man, that creature's so innocent looking and so nice. Maybe I shouldn't be robbing this guy."
All the decisions that have led me to this point.
Yeah. Baxter has that amount of, don't you, buddy? Don't you? Anyway. That's funny. All right, Johnny. So, Johnny, what is your opinion? And this is going to be a short one, too. We're okay.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So, but what is your opinion?
We need to talk about animal abuse. I feel like that we never actually talked about it.
Yeah,
we need to do that.
Johnny, what is your opinion on what animals make the best pets?
Really, I think it all depends on what you're looking for, because I can get along with pretty much any animal. I've had all kinds of animals growing up, and I've gotten along with all of them on all different levels, but it just depends on what you're looking for. I think a dog, obviously, yeah, everyone can get along with a dog, for the most part. Protectors, always there, happy to see you. If you want a little low maintenance, though, you probably go with a cat. I think it all depends on what you're looking for, because you go with a dog and you get the excited to see you, and you got to teach them new tricks, potty training and all that. But I've been around multiple animals growing up, and I fell in love with each and every one of them in different ways. But if you're looking for more low maintenance, I would go with a cat. They don't need as much attention. They kind of do their own thing, easy to feed. You have a box on the floor that they somehow know how to go to, and but so it's I think it just depends on what you want out of an animal.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, the ultimate purpose of the pet, I guess the question needs to be asked, like, what do I want? You know, is it a companion animal? Is it a farm animal? Is it a whatever animal? What purpose does the animal serve? And that's really what animal makes the best pet. Because for me, obviously the interaction with Baxter and everything is good, but with your current situation,
No worries.
like these dogs right now are literally having the time of their lives. Look at them. Not a worry in the world. They ain't got any bills to pay. They ain't got any, I almost wish we could get back to that kind of mentality, It would be nice. But let's talk. One of the last topics I want to discuss while these little monsters get along here is animal abuse. So, what are y'all's thoughts on animal abuse? And in terms of, I guess I don't want to isolate it to just like domesticated animal abuse.
Like
in general, yeah. Let's talk
yeah.
about like the agriculturally used animals and everything.
I even think, because I even think animal abuse, first off, not okay. I don't care that it's just, if you say it's just a dog or it's just a cat, well, that's like saying when you kick a child, oh, it's just a child. No, it's just a kid, whatever. There was this, even against like a wild animal, for instance, you find a baby deer or something, or just some stranded animal that's innocent and defenseless, somewhere on the side of the road, or happens to be wandering through town, and you happen to be one of those little rapscallions that decides, well, let's start throwing rocks at it, or let's catch it and torture it for a little while, First off, there's something wrong with you. It's not right to look at something like that and go, well, let's just take it and this defenseless little creature and, cause it harm continuously for however long we do it.
Who does that?
I don't know any specific example, but people do that. People get caught doing that, And I just think if you have that part in your mind, that's in my opinion, that's like the beginning of a psychopathic kind of lifestyle. Like, well, I'm going to torture an animal so that 10 years from now I can torture a human.
There's a lot of. I read a lot of doing the research for this episode. There's a lot of links in the articles I read between animal abuse and human, psychological abuse. Like when it comes to spousal abuse and wife abuse and child abuse. A lot of it stems from when you observe children and their relationship with animals.
Yeah.
And how that develops. It's very, very interesting stuff. That you can really identify those tendencies early on in childhood development.
You can, yeah.
With the way that they interact with animals, and do they have that empathetic, that compassion, or do they look at it that way? That's a good point. But Johnny, what do you think about animal abuse in general? Obviously it's a monstrous act and everything. In fact, I my grandfather's side of the family, they're all from Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, and I've seen. I remember one of the last times I went by, I drove by the Michael Vick neighborhood and house, just to see and that neighborhood or whatever, and where that dog fighting occurred. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, I don't get how people can allow that and just, be entertained. It's one thing just, to observe it, but to be entertained by it is just I don't understand.
Well, it's like how they used to watch gladiator fights, if you think about it. We used to watch humans kill each other.
It is. That's a good analogy. It is. Why does that entertain us?
It's the violence. We like violence, dude. Action movies, all the superhero movies.
But imagine, put yourself
in that spot.
What if that was you?
I wouldn't. Yeah.
That's the ultimate question. I think it all boils down. It's like, what if that was you?
There's a reason we punish it criminally.
Right.
There really is something wrong with you if you're that violent to something so innocent or something. In my opinion, also, there was this video. It went viral a long time. Not even that long. It was 6-7 months ago. This guy, they were at a dog park, and one of the dogs. I don't know. Maybe he bit his dog or something. I can't really remember. But he ends up kicking this dog, and it sends the whole dog park into just a frenzy because everybody's wanting, well, what the hell are you doing kicking this dog?
Yeah.
And before this, I was kind of looking up the punishments for animal abuse, and yeah, she's really tired. And a lot of it, like at the misdemeanor level, is just fines and just a slap on the wrist. And and in my opinion, for instance, that dude that kicked the dog, if someone did that to my dog, for one thing, I would expect her to turn around and bite them. And then
Them's fighting words.
Yeah, exactly. I would expect her to turn around and take a chunk out of them. I really would.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would expect myself to be allowed to take whatever hard object was nearby and beat them over the head with it, because you're not getting away with hurting my animal. I'm sorry. Like, that's something that I feel.
I was looking at, it's one thing I wanted to talk about is what the punishments are, for animal cruelty.
I've got it pulled up here.
Do you?
Yeah. In the state of Tennessee. First off, cruelty to animals is defined as tortures, maims, or grossly overworks an animal, fails unreasonably to provide necessary food, water, care, or shelter for an animal in the person's custody, abandons unreasonably an animal in the person's custody, transports or confines an animal in a cruel manner, or inflicts burns, cuts, lacerations, or other injuries or pain by any method, including blistering compounds to the legs or hooves or horses in order to make them sore. So, like, when the celebration, the Tennessee Walking Horse had a big problem a while back with soring the feet, so they'd raise their feet up. That's classified as animal abuse. But it's a Class A misdemeanor, punishable with
So animal abuse is a misdemeanor.
Well, that is cruelty to animals. Aggravated cruelty. And the punishment for cruelty is a fine of up to $2,500 and or 11 months, 29 days, 11 months or 29 days, or 30 years of imprisonment. Mm-hmm. So you can get up to 30 years of imprisonment for animal cruelty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good.
Aggravated cruelty is defined as, with aggravated cruelty and with no justifiable purpose, such person intentionally kills or intentionally causes serious physical injury to a companion animal. So I'd assume a companion animal would be like a dog or a cat.
Right.
The first conviction is a Class A misdemeanor with the penalties seen above. The next one is a Class E felony, punishable with a fine up to $3,000 and or imprisonment up to 6 years. Additional sentencing provisions for both include psychological counseling, which I think we've hit on, is that there's something wrong with you, cost of care, forfeiture of animal, limited future animal ownership, and an award of up to $4,000 in non-economic damages to a person whose companion animal is killed or sustained injury. Exemptions are made for veterinary practices, medical treatment, blah, blah, blah. But I honestly like the. I feel like if you have been charged of felony animal abuse, it shouldn't just be limited future animal ownership. You shouldn't be allowed to own an animal.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. It's like once you've done it, it's very indicative of who you are as your character. And if you've done it before, it's very. That's kind of like if you have that within you to treat another animal like that. It's kind of a. You can't really grow out of that. Yeah. That's kind of a carnal thing that's intertwined in you, and you just have to live your life kind of knowing that. So yeah, I mean, I hate to say that because it almost sounds like people, there's no chance of redemption, but that's a very basic characteristic, that empathetic trait that people can have or some lack.
Yeah.
But I am looking. So there's on Doppler DOPPLR.com animal cruelty. It's specifically for that. There's a good quote by Jeremy Bentham. It says the question is not can they reason nor can they talk, but can they suffer. Actually, and it does state that all 50 states have animal cruelty felony provisions. So in every state, but I have read several different accounts of it. Like for example, Florida tried to pass a law. We've all heard of cow tipping.
Yeah.
We laugh, but Florida.
It is abusive.
Florida tried to pass a law about and I'm not sure if it made it through or not. I think it actually got batted down, but it criminalized cow tipping.
It can kill them.
I know.
Yeah, it can kill them.
I know. So there, it's just I think it's important to identify these things and to figure out where the line is, where to draw the line in terms of how to treat animals, how to when we are domesticating them, when we're using them for food, when we're and just kind of carving out their role in human life when it comes to this, because we are awfully pervasive to the world, and it's important to be compassionate when it comes to the other occupants of this planet, I think.
All I want to do is I hate that we live in a world where those ASPCA commercials are necessary.
Yeah.
You know, I hate that. Like
the Sarah McLachlan things.
Yeah.
And,
you know, the fact that as a race we actually enough of us treat animals in that way that they have to.
Yeah, we're disgusting.
Yeah,
we are.
really
we are disgusting species. You're right. I mean, it's depressing. You know, when we get down to it. A lot of the brutalities that we're capable of. You know. And that, again, kind of tying it back into the book, really, is one component of how they, like I said, the third book's called Continuity Induction, and it's all about our eventual graduation, basically, as a species into this, you know, coalescing, or not. I haven't even decided, actually, if I'm going to write I don't know if we deserve it, you know. It's one of those, at least in the story, it's like, you know, another species will be looking at us and saying, "Oh, do we want to? Do these guys treat other? You know, like because to them, we're the animals. You know, like that's how they view it. You know, it's and again, going back on last week, it's all about perspective. You know, and we're the lesser beings that that are at their will. So, but thank everyone for tuning in. I do want to say, treat animals well. Obviously, we all love our pets and animals. Mr. Baxter, thank you for joining us. Mr. Luigi and Miss Oreo.
Miss Oreo, yeah.
Ryan, Johnny Will, thank you guys again. And is there anything else you guys want to add?
Actually, I have something that I think would be pretty cool. I just now thought of this, so I figured I'd get it out there. Listeners, I'm sure you have pets, an animal of some sort, a cat, a dog, a hamster, gerbil, fish, whatever it may be. We have spent the day, we took a little break earlier in recording and went outside and played with the dogs, and we took plenty of pictures. We definitely archived the day. But I honestly think, and I know Matt reaches out to y'all on Facebook a lot and always asks for your comments and whatever. I think it'd be really cool if you got together with your dog or cat or whatever and gave us some sort of cool little snapshot, quirky picture, or just a picture showing off your pet and how proud you are of them, and post it in a comment or on our page or something like that. Just introduce us. Tell us who they are. That's all I really,
Yeah, that's a really good idea, Will. Let's do that. Like our page, facebook.com/howtheworldshouldwork. Post a photo of you and your good boy or good girl, and tell us about them, and we'll definitely highlight them. We can actually no, it wouldn't be good to put them on our website, would it? No. Facebook.
Just leave it to Facebook.
We'll leave it to Facebook. Yeah, good idea. Also, memberships. We are, again, soon we're going to be rolling it out. We haven't promoted it yet, but we do have a membership form on our website. If you are interested in volunteering or getting involved, please fill out that form. It's howtheworldshouldwork.com. Go there. On the top menu, there is a form to get involved, and the things and the plans that we have rolling here. Anything else you guys want to add?
Said it all.
All right, so as we close, as always, I am going to read a poem, as my high school English teacher would call it. And tonight's poem is called Dogs. And it goes like this. Do you ever feel you're lonely? Are you ever feeling down? Life can feel so stagnant when there's no one else around. Well, if you answered yes, good news I have for you. A simple, easy method to change your 1 to 2. Go out and find a shelter, or perhaps a trusted store. Then check out all the good boys and pet them till you're sore. Soon that one will stick out, a connection you will feel, and sooner than you know it, your pain will start to heal. The love you'll feel's the greatest, that bond you both create. Soon you'll have a best friend, the bad will turn to great. So wait no more, get out there. Don't be a bumpy log. Find your local breeder and get yourself a dog. So that is our chat on animals, animal appreciation, pet appreciation. Thank you to all the good boys and the good girls out there. Thank you to everyone listening. Please like, subscribe, get involved in any way you can to make this world a better place. Let's figure out how the world should work.